Welcome everyone, this is Andres Restart, and today we are talking about a big sign for Switch 2 next year that no one is talking about. Now when I say no one, I'm saying no one that I can think of. It's possible that someone somewhere has been talking about this. So if you're talking about this and you're watching this video and you're like, hey, I was talking about this, well, I'm sorry, I didn't see you, but I feel confident in saying that no one that I watch or I've seen on social media has been talking about this, and I haven't really brought this up myself yet, but it's something that I think makes it pretty darn clear that changes are happening and Switch 2 is almost certainly coming out sometime next year, 2024. But before going forward, let me point out that we are aiming to reach 50,000 subscribers. So if you do enjoy my content, please subscribe and hit the notification bell, and enjoy the ride as we talk about Nintendo every day. So what is this big sign for Switch 2 that no one is talking about? Well, just yesterday I was talking about Mario Kart 8 Deluxe's Booster Course Pass, the DLC, and how it's come to an end and how it's been fantastic, and I was comparing it to some other DLCs that have come out throughout the Switch era, and making the argument that maybe the Booster Course Pass is the best Nintendo DLC ever. It's up for debate, sure, but it's a pretty darn good one. But then it got me thinking, okay, the Booster Course Pass, Mario Kart's DLC is ending this year, Pokemon's DLC is ending this year. We thought it might be coming out in the first parts of next year, January or February, sometime in the winter time. But when Pokemon Company advertised that Wave 2, the Indigo Disc, would be coming out winter 2023, they meant December, literally in 2023, not the winter season that starts in 2023 and a few months later. So that's coming out. We've already gotten our Xenoblade Chronicles 3 DLC as well with Future Redeemed. And there has been no announcement of any major DLC plans for any major new Nintendo games that have come out this year. Save for Fire Emblem Engage, which did come out this January, but that DLC wrapped up within a couple months. It was a very quick turnaround. Everything else has not had any sort of DLC announcement. The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, the biggest game of the year, Nintendo has told us multiple times that there are no current DLC plans, and it's been half a year since its release. Still no announcement yet. We've gone through 2 Nintendo Directs since its release, and there's been nothing. Pikmin 4. It's been more than 1 Nintendo Direct since its release, and there's been no announcement yet. Super Mario Bros. Wonder. It did just come out not too long ago, but oftentimes, a DLC is announced early on, if not before games coming out, shortly after a game is coming out. And there's been no announcement of Mario Wonder DLC. In contrast, we look at last year. Let's talk about the major games that came out last year. Xenoblade Chronicles 3, Splatoon 3, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. All of these major Nintendo games had DLC announcements, and even if they weren't all out very quickly, because a lot of them have come out this year as I've already discussed, we knew about them early on. And we've seen no hint or indication of DLC to any of the major Nintendo games that have come out this year outside of Fire Emblem Engage, which had a very, very quick turnaround. And I think this is very telling for what's to come next year. Think about it. Most major Nintendo games, assuming they're not a remake or remaster, get DLC. At least some type of substantial free update. We haven't even seen that for Tears of the Kingdom, Pikmin 4, or Mario Wonder yet. In 2017, some of the major games, Xenoblade Chronicles 2, major DLC. Mario Odyssey, it had some major free DLC updates. Breath of the Wild, it had an extensive DLC plan. Splatoon 2, an extensive DLC plan. ARMS, an extensive DLC plan. Those are the major new Nintendo games that came out in 2017. What about 2018? Well, there was Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. That had DLC. The Kirby game had some free DLC updates as well. What about 2019? Fire Emblem Three Houses had its DLC. Luigi's Mansion 3 had its DLC. Pokemon Sword and Shield had its DLC. 2020 didn't have a release for any major new Nintendo games outside of Animal Crossing, which has had its DLC. I'm ignoring remasters and remakes again. 2021, Metroid Dread, it had its DLC. It was a free DLC update, but we got the boss rush mode, and that came out a few months later. And I've already talked about 2022. Yes, there are some exceptions that I have not mentioned, like Kirby's Forgotten Land and Paper Mario the Origami King, but these are the exceptions, not what happens most of the time. If it was just one game, it wouldn't mean much. point is, we get major DLC for brand new Nintendo games. And we haven't gotten any for Tears of the Kingdom, Mario Wonder, or Pikmin 4. I wouldn't expect an announcement for Advance Wars, that's a remake of 2 Advance Wars games. I wouldn't expect DLC for Kirby's Return to Dreamland Deluxe because that's a remaster, the same thing with Metroid Prime Remastered. I wouldn't expect DLC for Super Mario RPG. But the brand new Nintendo titles, yes, because they pretty much always get DLC. And we haven't seen any announcement of that. So I would say this is very telling that something's different. Every other single year of Switch games, they had DLC plans announced early on. But this year, no. But I think this is something that's important to consider because right now there's a lot of conversation about when Switch 2 may come out because Nintendo recently said that rumors were inaccurate, which has led to some believe that there's no way Switch 2 is coming out next year, but Nintendo's not going to acknowledge the system until it's time to announce the system or they're close. Acknowledging the system right now during this holiday season when they have all these different bundles coming out doesn't seem like the best idea. Now, we've had some debate of maybe Nintendo might announce it, but they've made it clear that that's not the direction they're going in. We look at hardware sales, year over year, they have been declining. And while software sales are still strong, hardware sales are still declining. Nintendo updated their projections for software sales by 5 million as of their most recent financial briefing, but hardware sales are still the same, projected for 15 million for the fiscal year, which is a third year in a row where it would be trending downwards. And historically speaking, usually once we see the second downward year, we already see Nintendo announce their next system. With Switch, it's a little different because it's going strong, and they have really quick turnarounds from announcement to release nowadays. But with this third year of trending downwards, that's a strong sign that Switch 2 is around the way. Never mind the fact that we have literal legal documentation referencing NG Switch, which most people take to mean Next Generation Switch, from the Microsoft VFTC case with this Activision email. So ignoring all the rumors and reports from different sites talking about the Gamescom demos and Switch 2 and deep learning super sampling, we have substantial signs of something is happening next year. I've already talked about several times how the ratios between remakes and remasters versus brand new games has been shifting more and more, especially with what we have coming out next year. Which to me is just another sign that Nintendo will continue to support the Switch because it sells such great software and they want it to become the best-selling system of all time, so they'll probably still be supported for the next couple years or so, but they are focusing their development efforts on the bigger titles while they have smaller teams and smaller efforts putting out these nice quality remasters and remakes and projects of that kind. When it comes to this conversation about Switch 2, I think a lot of people look to the great sales of Switch and think this somehow means that Switch 2 isn't around the corner. But again, Nintendo is planning to support the Switch for years to come, but that doesn't mean they want it to be their sole singular platform. They will have to move on, and at this point Switch is already the longest running console before Nintendo announces a new console. It's had a fantastic run, and its run is still going, but as it's entering its waning years, they're going to introduce a new platform to raise that one up so it's ready to be the primary platform once Switch has totally dried up. So yes, I totally think Switch 2 is coming out in 2024, and I still think it's possible it could come out in the first half, but more likely, definitely more likely, second half of next year. When will we get an announcement? I think it's possible we could see an announcement at the Game Awards, but also, more likely, sometime next year. I think we'll get official word by the end of March 2024. But that's just my personal opinion. We'll see what actually happens. But what do you think? Let me know in the comments below. This is Andres Restart. Thank you so much for listening and watching, and I'll see you all really soon. Take care. Bye.